Good evening to all our viewers. Welcome to the H Show. It is Ilza. I'm standing in for Brandon. He's a little bit ill, so we just want to say, Brandon, we miss you so much, and we hope you're feeling better. Tonight we have with us Harry Turner, the nocturnal therapist.
Hello,
How did
hello.
you come up with your name? Let's just start with that first.
So Nocturnal had always been with me. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay, awesome. Nocturnal had always been with me because of my tendency to my brain wakes up between hours of 10 p.m. to 3 a.m. like my creative side, the right side of the right hemisphere of my brain, and so I'd always been nocturnal by nature, writing poetry and whatnot. And the therapist had always been. It's not really attached to what I do as a living because my practice, my discipline is psychotherapy, but is attached to the fact that I've always been a sort of therapist for like friends and family, and so nocturnal therapist, it just fit, you know.
Awesome. I like that. You say you're a psychotherapist. What does that mean? What
Uh-huh.
does do you get different kind of psychologists?
Okay. So the difference between a therapist, at least the way that I conceptualize the difference between a therapist and a psychotherapist, is that a therapist will focus mainly on your daily functioning and living. So if you are having difficulties, they'll focus more on what's going on presently. A psychotherapist, I believe that we are the sum total of all of our experiences. And so I always dig back down into childhood because I believe that it's in these earlier years of development that these limiting beliefs are formed based off of traumatic events that we've experienced. And so going back there can understand what's happening here because according to George Santayana, those who do not remember the past and learn from it are condemned to repeat it. And oftentimes we don't realize, but we repeat the same pattern over and over and over, just at a different it looks differently because we're older and more mature, but it's the same thing we're running from, the original trauma. So that's really the difference for me.
That is so interesting because I've myself has have a very I don't want to say dark past because I'm not a bad
Mhm.
person. Um but a past with abuse and that kind of thing growing up and seeing how it went or how it manifested in my relationships as an adult as well. um, I see on your book, and that is where I've also learned about shadow work, and I see that you talk about that on your website.
And so, yeah, but what's the question?
Sorry, can you tell me more how? Because I always wonder how am I doing shadow work? How do I do shadow work?
Okay.
How do I know I'm focusing on the right things and doing the right thing to heal from that trauma as a child so that I do not repeat it in my relationships?
Okay. So for me, all right, and I want to say for me because we could be saying the same words but be reading from different dictionaries. And so my form of shadow work is just my form. I'm not saying anybody else's form is different or wrong. I mean, anybody else's form is wrong. Or worse or anything. It's just my form. Let me state that disclaimer. So for me, shadow work is really going back into those dark places. So I said nocturnal also represents the fact that I've always been able to see the light in the midst of moving through so much darkness that I've always been able to sense. I'm an empath. And so I can feel people's fears. I can feel people's hatred. It's almost like I can almost smell it like I was smelling roses or cologne or perfume. And so understanding that dark place, those dark places that we have really represent something that was misunderstood or we do not understand about ourselves. It's uncomfortable. So we took those experiences and said, I don't want to deal with it because I don't understand it. And so it becomes a blind spot. But what that blind spot does, because we've done that, is we repressed, essentially suppressed and repressed our emotions to the extent that now it now possesses us whenever we are triggered. So for me, it's not about running from your triggers. For me, a trigger just it represents an area that has not been fully explored. You haven't gotten enough truth of yourself in that space, ergo the trigger is there. And so for me, triggers are areas of further exploration. So I actually bless my triggers. I don't run from them. I lean into my discomfort, you know? And so that's why I also don't believe in this whole the toxic person thing. But anyway, back to what you're saying, shadow work, or what you asked, shadow work is basically choosing to do the introspective work instead of trying to find solutions from without. Understand what's happening within you. And so you recognize the discomfort in your body, because your mind will lie to you. Your mind has no problem deceiving you, because deception is tied into our survival skills as human beings. And so we end up lying to ourselves oftentimes. And the worst lie we
Mm.
can tell is a lie to ourselves. So what you do is you go inside and you listen to the wisdom of the body, and you move down into the heart space, because that's the longest distance any of us to travel, from the head to the heart. You move back down to the heart space and you ask your body, what's happening right now? What do I need the most right now? Why am I running in this direction? Why do I feel this? The body will never lie to you. Your mind will lie to you, but your body will never
Mm.
lie to you. So you start to locate those different areas of your body where you feel the most discomfort, and you listen to what it tells you. You know, it's actually doing that and continuing to do that skill and going deeper, because it's not that we don't know. The thing is that we don't know deep enough. It's not about finding something new. It's only about going deeper in your own understanding, because no matter where you stand at on this planet, if we all were able to dig endlessly, we all reach the same center. So I'm not going to tell you go my way. It's about you finding your way. It's not about finding the path to your purpose. It's about finding purpose on your path. And so you lean into your discomfort and your truth, and you continue to be lit for life based off of your truth and no one else's. What's true for you, based off of what you know to be true, not only based off of what you love and like, but also based off of your painful experiences that represent who you are not. And so shadow work is about going in that space of shame, in those shadows, and understanding that that too is beautiful, and that there is truth for us there, and it can't hurt us the way it did in the past. In reality, where our greatest fears are, also underneath that, if we search deep enough, is also our greatest strengths, our greatest truths.
I love the way you said that. That is the way you said that just resonates with me. It's like actually I get that excitement in my stomach when you impart knowledge like that onto people that maybe do not know how to deal with that. Because I think a lot of people still struggle with old belief systems and past trauma and everything. You said something interesting, that you do not believe in a toxic person. What do you with that?
So I'm a child of love.
Mm.
And so for me, if I'm going to move in a certain way, my personal religion, which reflects my thought, word, and deed, and not established religion, but how I actually live my life, I move in a way of love. And for me, the labeling or the otherizing of another person as toxic, for me personally, and it's no judgment on anybody else, for me personally, I cannot move into the space of being so self-righteous that I would judge another person as toxic. And also I realize that the other is no more than a reflection of ourselves. So in calling the other toxic, essentially what I'm saying is that I am toxic. We don't realize that, but the only thing that triggers us in the other is really the toxicity that we fear that we hold within ourselves. But if we fill ourselves up with compassion, because whatever we extend, whatever comes out, we have to first fill ourselves up with that first. So the people that are the most judgmental are also the most critical of themselves. The people that hate other people the hardest are also the people that are filled inward. The inner world is filled up with all of this heat, all of this hate and fear. And so I can't judge the other as toxic, because I know that they are extensions of myself, and I love myself too much to call myself toxic. You know, and this is where we get into the space of love thy neighbor as thyself. I can literally love my neighbor as myself, even if they're a stranger. And I'm not going to call myself toxic. I just can't do it. And then who has the barometer for that? Like, that's too easy. I don't like you. Oh, it ended because they were a toxic individual. What the hell? Again, we could say the same words, but we're reading from different dictionaries. And I know that it's a fad right now, but it's a fad because it's comfortable, because it's easy. You know, it's easy to otherize a person, to toss stones at the other person. It's harder to love. And those who are the hardest to love are the ones who need it the most. I can't welcome them in and call them toxic at the same time.
That is so true. Especially with the toxic. I've been on the spirit. I'm actually so grateful that I get the opportunity to talk to you, because I've been going through a huge spiritual awakening, realizing that my Christian values aren't what I want to live by. because of the and I want to say toxic, and after your explanation I know I shouldn't, because everybody has a past and everybody is that way for a reason. But don't you feel that some people just don't want to work on their negative issues and therefore cause anxiety and issues in other people's lives because they don't want to deal with it?
I believe that if you do not take care of a virus, it will grow and it will spread, and then eventually it will consume the individual. So when I see what a person, what most people would agree, if a crowd of people were around and they would be like, oh yeah, that's a toxic individual. Again, I disagree with that, but
Mm.
everybody's in agreement that this person is an asshole. Okay. Like, straight up, and he caused difficulties. What I
You
actually
get some
see,
of them.
yeah, yeah. What I see though is not a toxic person in that they are toxic to me, because we're always worried about what the hell is in it for us. And so we're looking
Mm.
at it from a selfish perspective to begin with. But if I consider or try to put myself in their shoes, what I see is a person on fire. And of course, if I stand close to a person that's on fire, fully engulfed in their own hell, then I'm going to get burned too. So I'm going to make sure I keep a distance. But that's their pain that I'm seeing projected outward towards me. So it's about what type of relationship do I want to have with that person that's on fire? What's my role in their lives? And sometimes the role is just to get the hell out of the way and let them burn.
Because everybody has their own journey and need to learn their own lessons.
Precisely.
Awesome, awesome. I saw on your blog as well, you've got some interesting articles there, and I saw one that drew my mind, and it's because someone in my spiritual community told me about this workshop that she wants to start that tells you who you were before they told you who you were. I don't know if that ever makes sense, but it comes down to that article that you have of who am I? How do I find out who I am?
You're doing it right now. You see, it's not about who am I and then dead end, because we see that question as a dead end, as,
Mm.
what will I eat today? Or I'm going to eat lasagna, the end. Who am I? Because who we are is not stagnant. We're always moving. Anything not growing is dead. And so the one constant in this world is change, and we're constantly changing moment by moment. The who am I is answered in the moment to moment. And when you make a choice, that represents who you are in that moment. And then when you have an experience, you make another choice, which represents who you are in that moment. And as you make choices and you have these experiences, when you move from this is happening to me to what is true for me in this space, you're slowly and gradually answering that question, who am I? And the more we answer that question, the more empowered we feel. And the truth sets us free from that dark place, that shadow work that we must do to go to that dark place. The truth sets us free from that dark place, which represents our shame, which represents who we are not. How do I know that our shame represents who we are not? Because it repulses us. And anything that represents who we truly are, we actually gravitate towards. So our shame does not represent who we are. It represents our ignorance. And these painful experiences that we've had, no matter what choices you made in that fight or flight state, do not represent who you are. They represent who you are not. They represent experiences that are not true for you. And in this world of isness, we know everything by its opposite. So how the hell could you not know who you are, not only by who you are and what's true for you, by what you like and love, but also by experiencing who you are not? The sweet ain't sweet without the bitter.
I heard a interesting quote that uh, this conversation made me think of. It's I know what love is because I felt what love was not. So
Hmm.
that is how I know what love is, because the relationships and everything that I've been in with myself and with the people in my life was not love. It was not love. And therefore, you choose, in, like you said, in every moment, you choose a decision that either aligns with your values or it doesn't. And then you learn the lesson from the choice that you make, because it's got a consequence, either a good one or a bad one.
I'll say not good or bad, because energy is neither good nor bad. It's whether that experience resonates with the truth of who you are. So either it is a resonation of who you are, represents the truth, or it does not resonate with who you are. And then based off of that experience, either of who you are or who you are not, you choose a new experience, forgetting the past because the past is history, the future mystery, and today is a gift, which is why it's called the present. It's all about the power that you have in this present moment. We detach. The mind is attached to the past because all it sees, it makes predicted. It's called Freud called it a predicted hypothesis. It makes a predicted hypothesis about what we will experience in the future based off of what it experienced in the past. But if all it's pulling from is the past, then it puts us on a continuous negative feedback loop because the mind is fear based. The heart is love rooted. The mind is fear based. So it's always looking for threats. And so then we continue to relive that experience. 80% of how our mind constructs reality is based off of our past. I know I say 80%. That's very specific. Majority. I'm going to say majority because I don't know the percentage. Just based off of things that I've studied, that's why I hypothesize around 80%. But I don't know. All I know is a percentage of what we perceive or how our brain constructs reality outside of the physical world. These interpretations we make on each other and ourselves is based off of past information. And so that means no information, no new information. There's no room for new information in that feedback loop. And so now we're not looking at what's possible for us. And if we can't experience what's possible for us before it actually manifests in this experience, then we're not choosing. We're not choosing, not based off of love, not based off of what's true for us. We're just operating our fears and responding and reacting to that space, which is pure hell.
And that's where I feel that hell is on earth if you do not make choices in your own authentic voice. If you make choices to make other people happy, the universe will always push you and push you and push you and show you that's not the way that you have to go. I'm a very big TikTok fan. Due to the short videos and my short attention span. But there's this gentleman that he channels, and I think once he channeled, they called him Bashar, and then you can ask him questions, and one of the ladies on the video actually said that she's ashamed of her mistakes, and he actually said, do you know that is no such thing as a mistake? The only thing that is a mistake is you judging yourself for a decision that you made in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was very interesting when I heard that. It's like you say, so the mistake is blaming yourself because things didn't work out when you made a choice with a feeling that you had in that moment. So how
Yes.
can you judge yourself if you didn't have anything to go off and that was your decision that you made?
Ergo, the spiritual axiomatic truth: judge not, lest ye be judged. Is in our addiction to judge a thing, or the mind's addiction to judge a thing, as good or bad, that it then constructs a world, a reality based off of that, And so perception is reality. Whatever we stare at becomes a reality, and we know we don't see things as they are, but as we are. So if in your inner world you're projecting this to occur, then that's what's going to manifest for you, because that's all you're looking for. And so again, the mind, it constructs but does not convey. To convey the world means that the mind is constructing it, that it's giving us accurate information, these interpretations that we have. But it does not. Again, it operates not based off of how the world actually is. These interpretations were not meant to be specific or accurate based off of what actually is happening energetically, but based off of how we are energetically. So if we see the world as hell, then every single person that we meet represents some form of that hell, be it betrayal, be it a parasite, energetic parasite, be it somebody always coming trying to get money from you. If that's how you see the world, then that's the experiences that will come to you. But if you decide to step into your truth, live in your truth, then you step into your authority, and all of your power exists in this present moment. And so when you operate off of your truth, what you realize is synchronicity begins to occur in life. These crazy coincidences just keep on happening in life. And then you realize, oh, you actually do have a guide, and that life truly is conspiring in your favor. It's just that you weren't looking at life. You were looking at your fears and your past trauma. If we could just move away from our fears, just stop that feedback loop and move our awareness towards our truth, then we can experience true liberation, which is only exists in that space of the truth of who we are, only on that path. And the skill is to stay there. I still have my fears, no matter what level you're on. I don't care if you're the Dalai Lama, you're human. Nobody will escape the conditions of humanity. And so I have just as strong as fears. The fears that I have now are just as strong as they were back then, but I'm wiser now. I have more understanding, and I have mostly more understanding, because we could read a million and one self-help books, but we keep on going to the next, what's the next thing that can help me get free, instead of going deeper in what it is that we know. It's not understanding that we need. We need some understanding. We need to
Mm.
understand who we are energetically and then operate in that truth.
I just love that you say that. Then I saw another thing, and I have no idea what it is. What is imposter syndrome?
Okay. And I did. I don't know if you wanted to respond to that 80-20 rule question, but I just wanted to note that. But
Yeah, sure. It
and
says that's Jaybird. Hello, Jaybird. He says the 80-20 rule. I'm not sure what he's talking about. So I'm sure you know, but he says the 80-20 rule is the principle that 20% of what you do results in 80% of your outcomes. Put another way, 80% of your outcomes result from 20% of your inputs.
mhm, mhm.
How does that work? Can you maybe explain that a little bit more to us?
Well, I don't know specifically. I don't teach on 80-20 rule, but
Oh, okay.
what I will say is that all I know is that mentally, if you just exert a little bit of your awareness and you place a little bit of your awareness on your truth, like what grows there is magnificent, and it continues to pull you, like the gravitational pull towards your truth. It begins to become heightened, and so you stare at your truth more, and as you stare at your truth more, quite naturally that becomes more real to you. Ergo, you operate in that space more, and when you operate in your truth, then rapid manifestation occurs. You move from trying to move matter, physical matter, and exert only what you can do based off of what you see, to already accepting that I've chosen this experience and I actually have the power to draw this experience in. So that would be my explanation.
Okay, awesome. And sorry, can we what is
Imposter
imposter?
imposter
Yes, sorry.
syndrome. Yes. So imposter syndrome, and I know, again, these concepts, for me, words are fluid and they represent energy. And so imposter syndrome energetically means that the person is not accepting the good things that they have experienced in their life. So they get into a space of being at a certain position at a law firm or whatever, then all of a sudden they looking around and they're believing that everybody else is more competent than they are, that it was a mistake that they got hired, that eventually they're going to be found out for the fraud that they truly are. So imposter syndrome is this experience or a delusion within our own illusion, or the Maya, which Buddhists call our world the Maya, the illusion. It is this experience that we truly are inferior. It goes right back on to the trance of unworthiness that all humans fight against. The trance of unworthiness, inherent in the belief of the trance of unworthiness, is the belief that no matter what we do, no matter how hard we try, we will always in some way fall short. That there's something wrong with me, and that's why all of these bad things keep happening to me. Because if I was just a better person, if I just looked a little better, if I just had a little bit more money, if I just was a little bit more smarter, if I was just a little bit more smoother, if I was just a little bit more articulate, if I went to school just a little bit longer, my life would be better. That is the illusion of the trance of unworthiness. These things in this physical world do not represent your value. You represent your value. A value is merely what is most important to you. And when you chase after what's most important to you, now you're operating in your truth, and then you become lit for life. It's on that path that you find your passion, and then your passion leads you to your purpose.
I like the reason I asked that is I wasn't sure, but I feel that I started. I always wanted to do a blog and or a podcast and help people from the same past as me, and help them with my experience and everything. And there's a lot of days when I, just before I go on the show, I think to myself, I am so bad at this interviewing stuff. I don't know why the people keep watching me and everything. And after a show, I always go, are you so hard on yourself? Um, how what do I do not to feel like that, or to feel less like that? What can I do? Do you have any advice for people that get stuck in that rut, or that hear that noise louder on some days? What is it that we can do?
First, recognize what part of you, and this is where introspection comes back in. Recognize which part of you is afraid, and then go in and speak to that part and understand why it's afraid, because our fears do not, again, represent reality. False evidence appearing real, that's what fear is. Danger is a reality, but fear is a choice. And so we have to understand why we're choosing fear in this space. And when the moment that we make a judgment, we know that we're operating in the space of the mind, and the mind is fear based. Ergo, I forget exactly how you put it, how you were criticizing yourself, but the criticisms that you had, that's all mind based. That's all mind rooted, and it's telling you that so that you seek shelter, so that you seek safety, and not doing this very thing, which is to be courageous and do it anyway, even though you're afraid to do it. Same thing that I'm doing right now and speaking and speaking freely, and so, how do you move from that space? You continue to develop the skill of leaning into your discomfort and confronting that fear head on, because what fear is a mirage. And the more that you move towards a mirage, the more it dissipates. The more you run, the stronger, larger, and bigger it becomes. You realize that when you lean into your discomfort, that your fear, this big bad wolf that you created, was just merely an illusion. And all you have to do is continue to practice being yourself in that space, and you'll see.
Oh, Lena, you're so awesome. Thank you so much for the compliment. Um, and then, but that for, I saw something else. I wrote it. Yeah. What is Ayurveda? Is it Ayurveda?
Yeah, medicine.
Is
Is
that almost the same as something like ayahuasca? Is it, or does it almost work the same? What does this medicine do, and what does it help for?
I'm not even going to pretend to be an expert on that right there. But there's so I am, one of my credentials is a certified mental health integrative medicine provider. And so I know a lot about like holistic practices, but really it's just a way of moving into a more holistic space based off of a lot of Eastern philosophies is what you're tuning into with that. There's a lot out there. You really have to find out which exactly what practice, because again, this is where I go into understanding energetically. What you're trying to ask is, what discipline do I choose? So dang, I don't know how much time we got, but
You can go. You can go. We've got enough time.
okay, because I'm more of a spiritual truth, energetic, like the physical, I break apart and I could see what it represents energetically. And that's sort of kind of my gift. And so Bruce Lee, he said that there are three stages of mastery. Stage one being the undisciplined natural, the natural undisciplined, where you go into a fight and you swing wildly without any discipline, but you're doing what's natural to you. He said the second stage of mastery is the longest stage, which is the stage of self discipline, which is the unnatural discipline, where now you're choosing art form and you're practicing that art form, but it's not natural to you, at least not yet. You have to spend a great deal of time allowing your body to contort and to adapt so that it also assists you in completing certain moves. And then comes the final stage. You black belt and you've been black belt for a minute, and then you go to the final stage of mastery, self mastery, which is the natural discipline, where now you develop this plan of approach, which is something I teach in my course. But this plan of approach to life, where now you have this, the plan of approach is basically you're at the bowling alley and you realize that you can't see really where you're throwing at too good. And so you decide to put up the lane boundaries. So your plan of approach is basically these are the parameters of what I'm going to operate in, which represent the parameters around your truth, right? And then you just continue to move into that truth, living in that truth. And that's really, I'm sorry, wait, let me go back for a second. I want to make sure, because I can go off on a tangent. I want to make sure I answer the original question. So, again, the practices. This goes back to what you were asking me about that article in specific. There's a lot of practices out there as far as holistic wellness. Sample, see which ones really speak to you, which ones really grab your attention. So if that grabbed your attention, that curiosity, follow curiosity, because that energy
Okay,
of
that's a good
curiosity
word.
is definitely leading you to something that's true for you. and then you just continue to do that. And if you find something, you hold on to that, and then you move further in that. That's why I don't make any recommendations on which holistic practice to actually employ.
Thank you so much. I wanna ask you. I've got a personal question. Where did I write that down now? What was your biggest failure, and what steps did you take to pull yourself out of it?
My biggest failure was the belief that I had no power, the belief that I was less than, the acceptance of being less than. That was my biggest failure. Uh, If you're looking for a specific situation, I
Mm-mm.
mean that. Okay,
You can tell me.
no, I was just going to say that perceived failure, whatever, not believing in myself, that was present all throughout my life, and actually, the opportunity to fail again will always be present in that moment because that choice of not being myself is always there. But it's only fear that would keep me from being my authentic self in a world that wants you to be no more than a carbon copy of what they say they want you to be. They even were cocky enough to name the TV set television, where literally people stay on there and tell you the vision that they have for your lives, you know? And so my biggest failure was not believing that I had autonomy, that I had the freedom, the liberation to be me, that I was unworthy. That was my biggest failure. My biggest success is realizing that no, there's nobody higher or lower than anybody else, no matter what path or journey they travel down. And so I am not unworthy. I'm not less than anybody else, and that this process of seeking approval represented first at the very beginning that I disapproved of myself. So then I began the skill of approving of myself, of understanding who I am, regardless of how the outside world responded to me, and just continue to move in that skill. That is my success. Every single moment, I define success day to day, moment to moment. So success in a moment for me is any day, any moment that I decide to show up as my authentic self. That's success.
I like that. I'm gonna live by that. That I can guarantee you. Um, our show's name is Health, Hemp, and Happiness. If you hear those three words, what does that make you think of?
Well, immediately I go to Mary Jane. I go to Mary Jane.
We all love Mary J.
Hey, look, I don't know anything about too much about that. I just know that it's out there. I've heard of the substance before. I'm a licensed professional, so of course I don't know anything about that. But immediately I go to Mary Jane. But I think about really I like the hippies time period, even though we're long gone beyond that. But I like the hippies time period, like some of the philosophies that they had, this free acceptance, compassionate. And so when I think about those words, how that flow, it ushers in this space of, hey, this is an affirming space, where you could just be authentic. It's a place where you can be safe. What I do with some of my people is I tell them, if they ask me, I say, how do you think the way that you think? How do you process these? And I say that my insights, again, that nocturnal part of me, the place that I go in that space between 10 p.m. and 3 a.m. it's my planet. When you step down and you land on ground, the air that you breathe, it's not oxygen, it's safety. The communication that we speak is love.
Hi,
And so
Rennie.
in that space, like, you can just create and be free to be yourself because there's no threat causing you to run into the closet, or influencing you, being a catalyst for your desire to run into the closet to protect yourself. So when you're no longer protecting yourself, you by default are authentic. It's actually authenticity is actually our default state. It's our fears that scare us out of that state.
That make us act like we're not supposed to act, or like we don't want to act in front of people when our fears come up.
So understand this real quick, because I want to help you out with this too. The judgment. Understand that the moment that you make a judgment, it's the mind. And as far as the way that you don't want to act in front of people, forget all that. In our state, when we are not acting according to our values, we're in a fight or flight state. When you're in a fight or flight state, you go into a state of compulsion. Compulsion is to behave in a way that is not natural to us, in a way that is not authentic to us. It's in those fight or flight states that we're not operating in our authentic selves. We're operating based off of what we believe or the mind believes will make us safe, which then we look back later on after that moment is over and we feel safe and we shame ourselves for the way that we behaved. But what we have to understand is that that does not represent who we are again, but who we are not. And if we continue to stare at who we are not, we will confuse it with us, because the mind is always attaching itself to whatever it stare at. Whatever you stare at becomes your reality. And so immediately recognize that that moment was not you, and then forgive yourself and usher in self-compassion, because you are human. And so if you're not fucking up sometimes, then you ain't living. So then you bring your awareness back towards your truth, and you begin operating in that truth. Don't worry about what everybody else have to say. If they still looking at the old version of you, that's them.
Mm.
If you forgive yourself and you extend compassion towards yourself, move forward in that truth. That other part of you is dead. It's gone. That moment is dead, because that didn't define you. Your mistakes don't define you. Your story does not define you, you know?
I like that. I like that. How do you develop the audacity to live a life that reflects you?
How do I?
And how do our viewers? How do what steps can they take to do that? Like,
That's most certainly. Well, if they really want hands-on-hand coaching, they can go to the Lit Factor. They can go to my website to sign up for the wait list, you know. But they will plug that in there real quick, you know. But
we're gonna put that up for you. Let me. I want to pull up your website. In any case, I got it here so that the guys can see. I went through it a little bit. So let me just get to the right part there. Oh, I think this is the wrong one. Let me just.
become an outlier. Becomeanoutlier.com. You know, you'll see the wait list when you go there. You know, just click on the homepage and
Yeah, because I think I'm now on the wrong one. Yeah.
No. Oh, but where you were on, they also have the clarity book. So I'm giving a free ebook. That's a real good like ebook,
Oh,
really informational ebook on clarity. So please, if you get the free clarity ebook, you also at the same time get to sign up for the wait list. So you are on the right page. You just click on the freebie, the link that says the freebie.
I like freebies.
Yes, the free resource, 7 powerful ways to gain clarity.
Oh, definitely. And you've got your YouTube channel as well. So if our viewers can go like your YouTube channel, everything is in the bio, and then
Mm-hmm.
they can see your podcast as well that you've got.
Mm-hmm. So you asked me a question. How do you develop the skill of being audacious? Is really what you asked me.
Mm.
Excuse me. So how does one develop the audacity to live unapologetically authentic? The same thing, and to cut it short, there's a method, but that method, we don't even have the time to go that method. Again, you want the entire method, you know, or at least a good portion of it to get you a good start. Lit Factor sign up, you know.
They have to sign
But
up.
the method is skill building. The same way that you would if you want to be a basketball player, you realize that anything worth doing is worth doing poorly. And so you get out there and you may not be able to dribble that good at first, but you keep on knowing that it is an axiomatic truth that if you continue to practice that which you practice, you become, you know? And so to develop the audacity, if you're trying to develop audacity, the only way that you become more audacious is by practicing being audacious. So you continue to lean into your discomfort. You continue to lean into your fears. You continue to choose being your authentic self, despite the fact that you may not think that you're good enough to be on a podcast or be a podcast host or whatever. You do it anyway because that's what you love. And that's all that matters to you. And when you allow that to come out, again, it's not about all of these physical things that we look at. This is part of the Maya, the illusion. People will connect with you just being authentic and natural. Even somebody connected off the fact that you stated your insecurities. So even on your insecurities, we will connect when we're being authentic. Authenticity is the only way to truly connect. And that's really the only way to project ourselves out there in the world, you know?
Is that now you, Fernando? Or is it me?
It ain't me.
Sorry, I don't know if it was Fernando that pulled up your website again or not. What was the best compliment that anybody has ever given you?
Oh, whew. Oh my goodness. There's so okay. I can't say which one is the best one. I'm just gonna pull one of many of the best ones because when people speak from their authentic self, like it, and I know it, and I know it,
Mm.
and I know that I've made an impact on them. Like I can't really point out one, but I'll bring up one that makes me smile every time, and it was um I uh I was a mental health clinician at a multi-level security prison. And so in that space, this one This one inmate at the time, or offender, the appropriate term is offender now, but this one offender, as he was getting discharged, he was on the walkway and he was going towards the process building. And he was a lifetime in and out of prison type person. And so in prison, you can take classes like anger management and parenting that would shorten your time 60, 90 days, something like that, at least when I was there. And so he attended my classes. And as he was leaving now, he had already attended my class, graduated, got the credit, the 60, 90 days, whatever. As he was leaving on the walkway, he yelled, he said, Mr. Turner, Mr. Turner, hey, man, I just want you to know, man, thank you so much. I've been to like 6 or 7 different prisons, and I took this class like 20 times, and you the first time I actually learned something. Your class was the first class that actually taught me something.
Oh, wow.
I said, yo, that right there.
That
I'm always
hits
gonna
you
keep
right
that.
there.
Yeah. Yeah. I said, yeah, yeah. Because I have those insecurities in those classes, but again, every class I chose to be my authentic self, and that's what they connected with. We're not our mistakes.
You have to practice what you preach. That's the thing. You can't teach people to be authentically themselves if you do not show up for yourself every day.
Yes. And understand that you will not show up for yourself every day because you have to practice what you preach. But understand that it is a practice that LeBron James, Michael Jordan, they still travel from time to time. They still got rejected every now and again, even though they're at the top of the game. So that's when that self-compassion comes in. Make sure that you will stumble. But even when you
You will.
stumble, you still stumble forward.
It's still forward. That's true what you say. When you stumble, it's still forward. Um, where's that? What three of the people that influenced you the most in your life?
Aha. Okay. Influence. Okay. So, of course, I'm gonna have to combine two into one.
You can.
My parents, you know, because they taught me what unconditional love is. And so love, all true love, no matter whether it's romantic, friendship, or whatever, it's all unconditional, meaning it does not come without conditions, meaning there's nothing you can do to earn it per se, and there's nothing that you can do to lose it. Love is just love. It does not judge. And so they taught me that. So if that's my one user, the other two I would have to say would probably be MLK and Gandhi.
Nice, nice. And what lessons have they taught you?
Well, Gandhi helped me to accept my own humanity because he was definitely a troubled man. He was racist at one point in time, but his spiritual journey led him to, again, the same center that we all do when we decide to dive deeper in the core of our being. And his ability to lean into his truth and operate from that space, even to the extent of of allowing his own body to be battered to the extent of death, you know, in the name of his truth, in the name of his path. That it truly inspires me because none of these individuals, no matter who you're picking throughout history, like, and if they had social media during that time, my God, they would have been torn apart. But you're not going to find a hero. Our addiction, I was a preacher's kid, and so one of the things that hurt me the most, one of my biggest traumas, is our addiction to idols. This addiction to wanting to be perfect, and really
Mm,
perfection represents our addiction or our belief that we have to change something about us to actually belong, because belongingness is what we're seeking. And so this addiction to idols and perfection was a source of my greatest trauma, because people look to me to be perfect because I'm the pastor's kid.
mm,
And so Gandhi helped me to, like, looking at his life and how he really lived in his truth. No matter, I didn't judge, the whatever we would typically judge as humans. I was
mm.
judging him based off of the decisions he was making, how authentic he was, based in how much truth he had, how much access he had to the truth of who he was. And I saw him lean into that truth time and time again. Same thing for MLK, same thing for Malcolm X, like so many other heroes, and same thing for my parents. They've definitely taken us much further than what their parents had even expected for to take them. And so we stand on the shoulders of giants, and so I got to pay respect to the elders.
Amen. Amen. So to close off, I've got a very interesting. Okay, so I've actually got two questions. You've got your podcast. What it what is your vision with the podcast? Where do you want it to go? And what would you like to see your podcast achieve?
Which one? I have two of them.
Okay, both of them. I saw the so that is it so that
Is
so
that
that
so?
it is that so?
Yeah, is that so? Yes.
I
Yes.
like the name. Is that
Yes.
so?
Yes. And so for the is that so, I would like to bring us from focus on the transition that we all make, honestly. And so the first seasons more on like the interactions that humans have. You know, we deal with in the first season. I dealt with a lot of things like racism, discrimination, stuff like that. But that's more on this physical, what happens in the illusion in the Amaya. You know,
Yes,
um, as I move forward, this season is on mind body medicine. So becoming more, going more into those holistic practices and understanding how to use different practices to heal ourselves, which then requires understanding of who we are, at least some basic understanding of who we are. And then as we move forward, we move from the smallest I, where we experience life as separate, to a more unified, connected vision. And so as the seasons progress, it's going to become more and more spiritual in nature, and that it shows the connectedness that we all have. But we got to deal with what is and understand where we are so that we can understand where we need to go. We got to learn from those truths.
we have to. We have to learn from our ancestors and not do the same things. I mean, I'm from South Africa. Apartheid was a big thing. Racism is a big thing in South Africa. It is a big thing. And my parents, and I think a lot of millennials' parents, are still racist because that's the way they were raised and their belief system and everything. And I also feel that we as parents or as the more awakened generation should teach our kids different, because you teach your kids to hate somebody. You teach people to hate or to judge or
Hmm.
to not accept somebody because they're different from us.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I agree. Look, and again, understand what that is. Any type of these isms, it's a form of otherizing, and so that's a need. None. I respond to calling somebody toxic the same way I respond to like somebody calling me the N word. Like
Mm,
for me, this is the same energy type. It's I need to choose somebody that's an enemy, and then I'm going to throw stones at you. Any form of otherizing. Love is all inclusive, and so it's not only for those that we think are sweet and wonderful and we love being around, but love also includes those that we hate. That we hate. Love doesn't hate them,
mm-mm.
but
You
we.
choose to hate them.
Exactly, based off of our fears. Our fears, our fear that they may cause harm to us, or really that they represent some part of us when we dig deeper. But anyway, I can go
And
on and on about that.
and your other podcast?
Oh, yeah. So when Harry met Daphne, that's you can go to whenharrymetdaphne.com to check us out. And Daphne is Daphne. People always ask me that. So when Harry met Daphne. .com, and that podcast, it's a mind body spirit wellness podcast. And so she's a dietitian, I'm a psychotherapist, and so we come in and we talk about like real life truths based off of our different perspectives. So she's definitely more on the physical, but I believe that the physical is no more than a manifestation of the spiritual. So we could be talking about number two pencils, and I can relate that to spiritual truths, because that's really the only reason why the physical is here, to teach us that. But anyway, so we get together and we do our thing, and we're a good little, she brings me in, she grounds me in the podcast. So when I'm way out there, when I go straight ET with it, straight space cadet with it, it's like,
Brings you
okay.
back.
Yeah, it's like, okay, Harry, come on, come on, come on. I don't know if the people ready to go to Pluto. Let's just bring this back in. So we've been going. We started real quick. We started right after COVID because we couldn't do anything in our practice, and literally we don't get paid unless we see people. So even though we were all in that same state of crisis, we move based off of passion, And so we said, how can we still help people? And so we started to do these free Zoom wellness calls at 11 a.m. every Friday, and then people would show up and they started to they really fell in love with them, and they said, look, this is so good, I wish you could record it because we go to work, people are working
Yes.
Fridays. And so we started to record them, and then we had so many recordings that we said, we might as well turn it into a podcast. And so that's how we began. Actually, it started out, we had no intention on creating a podcast together. It was just COVID. And again, it made me think about the Chinese symbol for crisis is a combination of the symbols danger and opportunity. So while COVID created great change and great crisis and presented great danger, there was also a new opportunity that was unfolding right in front of us. And we walked right into it without even knowing that's what we were doing. And so now we have a podcast.
I feel the same about COVID. I feel that COVID has been a catalyst for a lot of people in their spiritual growth and spiritual journey and self-discovery of where they want to go and how much they really want to voice their
Mm-hmm.
opinions and want people to hear how they feel and what they think of what's going on in the world. It's had
Khalil
a huge impact.
Khalil Gibran, my favorite author, and you'll hear me quote him time and time again. He says, on pain, pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. It's the bitter potion by which the doctor within heals your sick self. So drink the potion in peace and tranquility. And that's loosely. There's a lot more to that, but those are the parts
Wow.
that I memorized because I needed to remember when I'm experiencing that pain what
Mm.
it reminds me that just that little part, pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. It reminds me to lean into that discomfort and say, Harry, I know this is happening to you. You're experiencing this. Your humanness is experiencing this is happening to you. But in this space also, I need you to see what is true for you in this space so that you don't have to ever experience this pain again, so that you can move it. What is true for you in this space? And maybe it's true that this pain needs to be sort of kind of like working out. We understand that the pain has a purpose. It's building up our muscles. And so we embrace that level of pain. Pain don't feel the same when you embrace it. So if you experience any pain that's on your path when you're living in your truth, it's not going to feel the same as the pain that you experience when you're afraid, you know? And so really I just choose to continue to move into that lean into that discomfort, continue as long as I'm choosing authentically, no matter what the experience, because the mind will judge, oh, this hurts you and so you made a mistake. No, maybe, and this is going to take this may it take a little while for you to get to this point. Now if I say this, maybe that pain needed to happen for me to be motivated enough to look at myself and discover what's true for me in this space and then move in that truth. The one
Right.
thing, mama birds, and I'm gonna shut up after it. I'm serious. I can talk about this all day. Mama birds, some mama birds will take their beak, and it will take the twigs when the baby birds get big enough and turn the twigs around so that the twigs are poking the baby birds, making the nest uncomfortable because it's that signal. It's time for you to go out and find your own nest because despite all the predators out there, despite that they can fly right now and then being eaten by a predator, there's something more dangerous than that, and that is
Being
complacency.
stagnant.
That is safety in your comfort, safety in the familiar. And so I lean into that discomfort so I can figure out where life is trying to guide me.
That is mind-blowing information that I just want to thank you for sharing your knowledge with us and with me. You have no idea how much you have helped me in my personal life
Mm.
already just by having a conversation with me for little less than an hour about some random questions, but it that message needs to get to people, and that is why we are creating opportunities to give people that want to help society that voice, and how we usually conclude with the shows. First of all, the last thing, I just want you to tell everybody where they can find you. So we're gonna end the show by just giving the people some positive affirmation and some guidance and maybe a quote that you want to impart on them and everything. I'll go first, and then once you're on the screen, you can just tell the people where they can find you, and on all social media platforms, and then just impart some more wisdom onto us. Please, 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 I'd appreciate that. Okay, so I'll go first. Guys, thank you so much for having me on the H. This was my first show, and what an amazing show. I shuffle cards. It's empowerment cards, and the reason I do that is because I like empowering people. I like empowering people that feel little, and show them that they are as big as they want to be. And this card that came out today, it says be an advocate, and it says stand up for what you believe in. Don't be afraid to ask, and sometimes fight for what you believe is right. Act consciously and deliberately to create the society in which you want to live. You create your own reality. Um, Believe in yourself, and know that you can conquer everything, and you are not what has happened to you in the past. You are a divine being and worth so much love and all abundance for you.
That was beautiful. That was beautiful. I just want to, yeah, look, I know it's my time. I'm gonna spend a little bit of time saying how beautiful that is. And she may not even realize, for me, that's like hearing Shakespeare speak, because she was speaking from an authentic place. And that energy is so empowering. Anyway, where to find me at? You can find me at becomeanoutlier.com. That's BecomeAnOutlier, becomeanoutlier.com. Also, see me on Instagram at the Nocturnal Therapist. Also, you can find me on Facebook at, I believe it's at the Nocturnal Therapist or School of Outliers. And there's a freebie. If you go to the site, we have our Clarity freebie out there. Again, just showing some love, spreading some knowledge, because that's my passion. And I think that's everything. Other than that, I guess parting words, I'll summon in the great Dr. Seuss and say that you are you. That's truer than true. No one in the world is youer than you. Your task, the charge that you have in this life, is to continue to lean into that discomfort and discover more truth. Continue to be authentic, no matter what the world says. Yes, the world wants you to be a carbon copy of what they need you to be, but you need you more than anybody else. Ignorance and freedom cannot coexist. Continue to learn new truths about who you are, and understand that anything not growing is dead, and that we're going to be growing to the day that we die. All right. So look, stay lit, stay living in y'all truth. That's it. That's my parting words. Stay lit, stay living in your truth, not my truth, not somebody else's truth, not somebody that's trying to give you a truth. Find out, discover your truth, hear your truth, hear life. Life is always conspiring in your favor. Listen with these ears, with authentic ears. Close these eyes, open up this eye right here, which doesn't look outward but looks inward, and do that introspective work to discover your truth. And then once you discover that, and again, understand that it's never a dead end. It's just a truth. There are truths that you will continue to move towards in this life. The day that you discover all your truth, it is the day that you're no longer here. That's the day that you transition. Like the game is over with. The whole point of the game is to answer that question, more of that question, with every single opportunity that we get. That question of who am I, that's seared into every human's brain. So anyway, be blessed, agape, and stay lit, y'all.
Thank you so much for joining us and giving your time and giving us wisdom to live by and just improve our lives and our mental states in this difficult outside world. Everybody, please go subscribe to Harry's YouTube channel, and share the links, and let's just show love and network with everybody and create awareness for what we are busy doing. You guys must have a wonderful day. It's almost 1 o'clock in South Africa, so I'm gonna go to sleep now. Enjoy enjoy the rest of your day. Wednesday is a good one. I've been there. We're in Thursday now. I'll tell you tomorrow how it goes on the light show.
All
Have a
right. All
wonderful
right.
evening, guys. Thank you so much, Harry.
Thank you. It's been a blessing. Thank you.
Bye.